Okay, like 1 more minute to see if someone else wants to join, and then we will get started.
Yeah.
This is also your chance to grab a glass of water or a notebook if you haven't yet, just so
I
you're
have
gonna
my
be
big
already
jug.
perfect. Yeah, me too. Welcome, welcome everyone. I think I think let's get started with the intro, and if someone wants to jump on during the masterclass, we just they can jump
Wonderful.
on. But let's get started. Okay. Again, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for taking the time for this masterclass. We are super excited to share all the value with you on the topic how to prepare for a successful launch online. So today we are going to cover first, Amber is going to share actionable strategy tips that help you plan out your launch. Then as well, we're going into spiritual practices to attract your dream clients with ease. And then I will cover psychology hacks to catch your visitors' attention online. And then at the end, sharing brand design tips that affect your sales online. Also, to mention right now, if you have any questions, please feel free to just put it in the chat box, and at the end, we will cover them. Okay, so a little introduction about us. I'm going to start. I am Sina. I am a branding expert and web designer, and I help coaches and creative entrepreneurs create a unique brand identity and online appearance that truly aligns with their mission and speaks to their dream clients so that they can make a bigger impact. And
Yeah.
if I'm not working and being creative, then I spend most of my time in the ocean. I love scuba diving, free diving, swimming, being in nature, as well as dancing. And I also added my IT on the bottom. If we're not connected yet, I would love to connect with you. Then that would be CCC Design. And from here, I'm giving over to Amber to introduce herself and then get started.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Amber Alexis. I am the founder of Amber Alexis International. Yeah, really creative name. So we pretty much focus on helping coaches and entrepreneur master their unique personal marketing strategies in order to get them to hit their goals. So we are currently setting higher standards for business and marketing coaches in the industry and kind of removing the copy paste kind of strategies that you probably see out there because a true success is really relies on customization, right? So here we're gonna talk about so many awesome things, but besides that, before we get into the fun, practical, and spiritual, what I love to do besides running my business is yoga. I'm a big traveler. I love reading. I love cooking. I definitely binge on TikTok more than I want to admit. But I love it there. So I'm super excited to connect with you guys. If you don't connect with me, it's actually Amber Alexis underscore coaching, not the dot. So underscore coaching. So would love to chat with you guys there. And I'm so excited to dive into some strategies with you guys.
Amazing.
Yeah. And if you have any questions as I go through, feel free to drop them in the chat. We're more than happy to answer them. So we're going to talk about some strategies for a successful launch. All right, so a successful launch first, like you really want to determine what that means for you. Everyone is different when it comes to a successful launch. And also, it's going to be very different a successful launch for a new coach versus someone who has had their time in the industry, right? So that's where the launch timeline comes in. So your launch timeline, it really depends on how you're nurturing your audience, right? Or how nurtured they are. So if they really don't know a lot about you, this is a process that you need to start building from like now before you start launching. Can you sell with like a more cold audience? Yes, you could, but are you going to increase your sales? Are you actually going to hit the number? Most likely not, right? So the launch timeline. So what that means is how long your launch is going to be. It doesn't always mean the live launch portion, right? So the launch portion is probably what you're used to seeing, like join now, 7 days left, stuff like that. Like you're talking about on stories, you're talking about it on Facebook groups and all of that. That's a live launch portion, but there's more to that, right? So you want to think about a launch as pretty much just warming everyone up to eventually like the big fun event, right? So think of, I love giving this analogy of like, think of a movie, right? A movie trailer. Some movie trailers are pretty much, they start promoting a movie trailer sometimes a year, sometimes 2 years before the movie comes out, right? Because obviously it's a $1 billion industry. It's going to bring them so much wealth after that, right? So they build up the excitement, they build up, they nurture their audience, they nurture their customers, right? So that's the same thing, guys. Marketing in all aspects is the same thing, no matter the industry. Just sometimes there's just bigger budgets to play with, right? So for your business, if you're thinking like, oh, I'm gonna launch tomorrow and I'm gonna sell it out. Realistically, if you've never talked to your audience, you're not gonna sell out your launch. It's just not going to happen. It's very rare. But if you are nurturing your audience, you're really catering to them, understanding. And when I say nurture, it really depends on the type of marketing that feels good to you. So don't take nurture to what you are really love doing with your audience. Maybe it's IG live, maybe it's posts, maybe it's TikTok, maybe it's YouTube. There's so many ways to nurture your audience, right? But whatever feels good to you. So you really want to focus on that aspect of really nurturing your audience. All right. So now that we kind of know the launch timeline, so it depends on your business. It really is a very customized portion. There's no set launch timeline for anything. The average, I would say, like the average that people launch will be. So if you have like a cold audience, you'll probably start at like a 90-day launch thing. So you're like, oh my god, that's 3 months. I don't like that. But if you want to sell out your like launch, that's what it's gonna take when it's a very cold audience. So cold audience means that you are not getting any traction from them. They really don't know who you are. They have no idea what you do. Like you just started, you just got into it. So it's going to take 90 days to build that audience like trust. And that's how you will get that successful launch, right? People don't like hearing that. They don't like hearing, it's not sexy to hear. Trust me, I know. But it is the truth. And that's what I pretty proud of myself on, is like telling you what it does truly takes. If your audience is a little bit warmer, that's when you can kind of shorten it up. And if they're like a hotter audience, they're very engaged, that's when it gets really short, right? So that's when it can be like anywhere from 45 days to 30 days to 15 days. If your audience is super used to buying from you and they love everything that you're putting out there, right? There are flash sales. Those are things that are great to do. Never do a flash sale for like any like, I personally don't recommend doing flash sales for like one-on-one or things like that, just because your one-on-one is very sacred, right? But besides that, that's kind of like the timeline more or less that you want to look at. So if you want a successful launch, it's going to take time, it's going to take planning. And I will dive into a little bit of divine timing and all that when it gets to the spiritual aspect of things, but it does take planning and really getting to know where your audience level is at this moment in time, right? There's also using obviously paid advertisement, which is a little bit different. But if you're just using organic, it is going to take longer. And you can also do a lot of the launch process behind the scenes, which is what I really recommend trying to sell out your program, maybe around 40 to 30% behind the scenes before you live launch. All right. So know your numbers. So this is a very big thing. Leads. Your lead generation is a big thing that you want to focus on. So what does your numbers look like, right? So when you think about how many people are you talking to a day, how many people are in your email list, how many people are watching your podcast or downloading your podcast, right? What is the click rate? I know I'm like dropping like words here that you're like, what's too much? But I really want you guys to kind of look at the numbers, because a lot of time we get discouraged. This is something that happens with my clients, and it's happened to me. Like, you get discouraged by getting like a couple of no's from like 3 or 4 people, let's say back to back no's, right? That's like a very standard thing, right? So, but when you have like a leads list and you understand your leads list, so you're like, okay, yeah, I got 4 no's, but I have like 30 people, 40 people, 50 people on my leads list. Oh, I'm not even sweating it. No big deal, right? And doing their leads list is that's the process, right? It's the process of like when you're nurturing that timeline aspect that I was telling you about, you're adding people to your leads list, right? And leads can come from so many ways. There's also lurkers that buy your stuff out of nowhere, guys. We love them. But in the beginning, as you're building your business, you are going to be very aware of who's watching. You're going to be very aware of who's in your leads list, because you're not outsourcing that right now. So that's kind of something you really want to pay attention to. And don't get discouraged with 4 people saying no to you back to back. That's part of launching, which I'll kind of dive into that in the spiritual, like energetics realm. But another thing is direct outreach, right? How to get your clients to buy your programs. I definitely think direct outreach is one of the best ways to get people to buy your programs in the beginning of your business. So by beginning, I mean, you probably haven't hit like 10K months or so. Once you've hit there, obviously that's when you kind of expand. But direct outreach is really great because you can personally be talking to people, dealing with their problems, getting them on calls, and doing all of that, right? So getting comfortable with talking to people is a big part of a successful launch, not just relying on like sharing stuff on IG, sharing stuff on a YouTube or Pinterest or TikTok, all of that. You want to have that direct outreach to get people on calls. Um, not only for them, but also for you, because sometimes even when random people apply to your programs, you are going to see that they might not be the best fit. And even though in the beginning you're like, I just want every client, no matter, I don't care if they're not the right fit, you might really regret that later on, just because the energy exchange is going to be very heavy, right? So direct outreach is something you definitely want to get used to and getting things flowing. If you're like, I really am not a big fan of direct outreach, then email strategy is the next thing that I think is the second best way to kind of close people in that space when it comes to like organic reach, right? So email strategy, does it work? Will it work for you? Email strategy 100% works, but just like I said, it's all about that nurturing aspect, and it's about paying attention to the numbers, your analytics when it comes to your emails, right? So what does the open rate look like? What do your click rates look like? So all of that is really important. And then also having that nurturing sequence, the sales sequence going in, and then retargeting them, right? If they're not buying, you're retargeting them. So email strategy is really great. If you're like, oh, I really don't want to do outreach, I want it to be more passive in a sense, then really go heavy on email strategy, right? So everyone is different. It just depends on your personality, depends on your business, depends on your goals. But email strategy is definitely something that I highly recommend diving into. So when it comes to successful launch, so specifically there's like launch strategies when it comes to email. So that'll be like talking about the features with your audience in the email space, giving them a specific exclusive like news like feature, so maybe they can see a little snippet of your course, a little snippet of your product, making them feel very involved in the process and behind the scenes process. So it's kind of like they're like this exclusive club that no one else gets in. It's that they're except for people in your email list. They love that. So that's something that you want to do, and then you kind of start pitching to them. And another thing with launch, guys, it is a repetition. Marketing is repetition. It's something that you constantly have to do and talk about. And this is what people get scared of. They're like, but what if people get annoyed? What if people get afraid? Like, no one's going to get annoyed. If they do, they will just simply unfollow or unsubscribe. And it does nothing for you, right? The right people are always going to want to know more. They're always going to be drawn to you because you are going to be their solution for their problem, right? So don't worry. Just trust, and kind of that's where like the energetics aspect comes in, but just trust that like if you explain, the right people will come. And then little strategies that you can do during a launch process to warm people up right before you actually launch your program, before the announcement. You can do some challenges, some master classes, webinars, I love webinars and masterclasses a lot just because you can like you want to think like big picture of your business. You can eventually like set them up with automation, right? So you can have a webinar, you can create a webinar, you can invite incredible people in, have a fun interaction with them, launch your product in the webinar, and then you can eventually set that up through automation, and that way you pretty much just have like this consistent thing going to bring you that passive income that everyone knows and loves. But it takes a lot more than just one webinar. It takes a lot of like analyzing the numbers and the conversion rates and stuff. But that's a great way to kind of start into. If I'm losing you guys, like let me know. There's a lot of information. But I wanted to make sure that this was really jam packed for you guys, that you felt that you are getting everything that you were looking for. So webinars is a really great way. Challenges as well. You can do, if you're doing email, a really fun thing that you can do is like video, like a video challenge or a video series before launching or announcing your thing. That's a really fun way to get people engaged through email as well. And then with direct outreach, it can be really focusing on getting their input, like, oh, I'm creating a mastermind class, like what do you guys want in it? That way they're involved, right? So the biggest thing with organic marketing is you have to get your audience involved, right? If your audience is not involved, they're disengaged, they're going to be disengaged during the launch. If they're involved, they're going to be engaged during the launch. And this is where people, a lot of people like stumble because they just think, oh, I'm just going to focus on the launch and they're going to be engaged right away. There are some people who will be, but for the most part, it will kind of just, people will dwindle down, right? So get them really engaged from the beginning, and you are going to see a way more successful launch than if you just focus on the launch aspect, right? So another big thing with successful launch, guys, is learning how to deal with objections. This is, everyone does not like this part. They feel pushy, they feel scared, like it's just this whole thing. Trust me, I've been there. I actually very much love sales, but dealing with objections, especially I feel like as women, it can feel very icky. It can feel very salesy, like, oh, but I don't want to push you. Like, I just want people to come to me and it's wonderful. And like, yeah, we all want that. And the truth is, that's going to be a good amount of your clients. But sometimes there are people who are very afraid, and they kind of just need you to be like, hey, I know you're afraid. Obviously, investing is terrifying. But you want this, you know you want this, you know this is something you've been wanting to strive for. Let's make this happen, right? So there's so many ways to deal with objections, and it really depends on the way your personality is, the goals and the income of your client, and also the payment plans that you're offering, right? But objection, getting comfortable with dealing with objection, a big way of doing that is being very confident in what you are selling. If you are not very confident in what you're selling, if you kind of like, oh yeah, this problem's all right, it's okay, you know, no, you're not going to deal with objections, because you're going to be like, oh yeah, no, you're right, don't invest in this program, it's okay. Like, you're obviously not thinking that, but subconsciously that's what's happening, right? You have to fully believe in your program. Like, there is no tomorrow. Like, I believe this program is absolutely life changing. When you have that kind of confidence, when you have that kind of mentality through your programs, dealing with objections is going to be easier, because you're just like, oh, but oh, you need this, like you need this, and I'm going to help you get through this no matter what, right? So dealing with objections is that aspect of you have to get used to it. This is not something that you can bypass, um, especially if you're doing a lot of your sales through like sales calls, right? If you're doing more sales through ads or webinars, then obviously dealing with objections is going to be more through copy, but you're still dealing with objections no matter what. So you can deal with objections through copy, or you can deal with objections through your voice, right? Just depends on what you are launching at that moment in time. Another big thing with successful launch, guys, is social proof. If you currently don't have social proof for your businesses, you are your social proof, right? So, but share social proof, share client interviews, get creative with the client case study, and share them often, right? Celebrate your clients. And in the nurture sequence of the launch, what you want to do is essentially like share social proof throughout that part. A lot of people just completely forget about social proof until they're launching. And then they're like, oh yeah, by the way, my clients also get all of these great results. But the thing is, as we want to do, we want to engage people from the beginning. We want people curious, right? When people are curious, they're going to want to ask questions. They're going to want to take that next step. So sharing social proof throughout is really how you do it. And you can do it through direct outreach by just having a couple of conversations on there. You can do it through email. You can do it through Pinterest. There are many ways to share social proof, but it's something that you want to keep doing on that space. The last tip I want to give you guys when it comes to strategy, guys, there's a zillion launch strategies out there. There really is. Um, you have to find the one that works best for you. How you can tell if it works really best good for you is by it energizes you. It keeps you excited. It keeps you wanting to do more. You really want to analyze those numbers. Like, okay, how did that launch go? Okay, this is what I want to do. Right? You're not dreading it. Right? That's kind of how you start finding this launch strategy that's specific for you. Right? Pay attention to your personality. Pay attention to where you like spending your time on. Pay attention to where you shine, and that's where you want to start really building that launch strategy. So that is launch strategy in a nutshell. Obviously there's so much more to go into, but I know Sina has a lot of awesome stuff to share with you guys. I don't want to take up too much time, but if you have any questions when it comes to launch strategy, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I'll be more than happy to talk about the strategy aspect of it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, we're going to go into spiritual practice though, because the strategy is wonderful. I see this time and time again where you'll see a strategy being playing out. It's like the new strategy of, oh, it's like the new strategy of the month. Like everyone does like, oh,
Here we go.
yeah, yeah. So like this is new strategy. There's always a new strategy of the month that you want to try. Shiny object syndrome is very real, guys. It is real. You're always being marketed to. Like, that's what we do. We're marketers. So um what I want you to remember is a new strategy is not going to be the fix of your problems, right? It's not going to fix everything. It really, what comes down to a very successful launch is finding a strategy that feels very aligned to you. Everything we chatted about. But the biggest thing is that spiritual energetic practice needs to be a daily thing. I see it time and time again when someone does not do their like energetics practice or mindset practices, and they have the same strategy, this person will achieve their successful launch goal and this person will not, and it's the same strategy. So it has nothing to do with the strategy, it has to do with the belief, right? It has to do with your energetics, it has to do with what you're practicing on the daily to stay in the high vibration when no one's replying to you, when you're getting ghosted, when no one's clicking in your stuff, because that's all going to happen, guys. It's going to happen. No strategy is going to like make that go away. That's just part of it, right? So it's like accepting that and building these things, these practices into your launch strategy, your launch timeline, so that you're very powerful throughout the launch. Because a powerful like host, when you're hosting your launch, will resonate and you will attract the right people, versus someone who's very afraid and doesn't believe in like their launch, or they're just afraid to launch, or they're getting discouraged. They're going to already give up, which means their audience is going to give up too, right? So our energies are very powerful, and everything we feel, our audience is most likely feeling in some kind of way, right? So some practices that you can do are some affirmations, daily manifestation practices, visualizations and meditations, grounding yourself, journaling. Oh, I use journaling like there is no tomorrow. Like I'm always journaling. I release my doubts during a launch, because you're gonna have them. Everyone has doubts, right? We're humans. That's just the way we kind of run sometimes. So when you release your doubts during the launch process, you do not let them cloud your mind and your strategic aspect, right? Versus when you kind of ignore them, or you let them take over, you're not going to see clearly, you're not going to be able to launch at your highest self, right? So a really fun practice that I love doing is energetically connecting with my clients and with my potential clients. So I'll literally just like sit in meditation, or if I'm just like walking around, I'll just like sit and I'll just like give them like really good vibes, and I'll just like put my hands on my heart and I'll just be like, I send them like a little kind of prayer or an intention, and I'll just say, I give you the opportunity to say yes to this, to overcome your fears. Like, you got this. I know this program is going to be great for you. I cannot wait to have you in my program. And I just do that over and over again, throughout my launch process. And it's a really beautiful practice, because you're giving away like this fear thing, like, oh, they're not going to buy, they're so afraid. And you're just giving them power, right? Which is what you want. You want to empower your clients to say yes. You want to empower your customers to say yes to you, right? So that's a really fun practice that I love doing during a launch. And I pretty much do that like daily. Another one that you can do is like, you wake up every day, say like, oh, I signed a client, I sold a product, I sold a course. Say that every day. Reality, the odds are that's probably going to happen sooner than you think, right? So do that, and you don't have to have like your essentially spiritual and energetic practices means that you don't have to do it all on your own. That's a lot of pressure on yourself, right? So remember that, like, yes, the strategy is you, but you also want to be like, I am also open to any downloads. I'm also open to any intuition, that because sometimes things happen that you're like, you know what, I want to do this masterclass. It wasn't part of my launch timeline, but it feels like I really need to do that. When you do that, you get those clients, right? So like, be open to all of that, and that only happens when you're in your alignment with your spiritual practices, when you don't let the doubt cloud you, because that's when you're your truest self and your highest self, and your clients can feel that, right? So as important as strategy, as email, all the numbers, trust me, it's so important. um uh okay, yeah, so important. All of that's really important. This is just honestly even more important. So get into the habit of doing this every single day during a launch or before a launch, and you will have a successful launch. It's only a matter of time at that point. So remember that it takes strategy and energetics to have a very successful launch, and you're going to see that happen in your real life if you do both of the practices. So that is my 2 cents when it comes to the combo of spirituality and strategy for a successful launch. If you guys have any questions, again, really feel free to drop them in the chat. Um, or you can always send me like a DM, because I know like not everyone loves to share their questions on chat. But yeah, thank you so much.
I love that. So many aha moments and so many good points. I especially like my favorite that you mentioned was really energetically connecting with your clients, because
Mm,
I've been using all the other practices that you mentioned a lot, but energetically connecting, like really sending them prayers and empowering them to sign up and to trust you. I love that. That's
it's
an
such a fun
amazing choice.
practice. Yeah, I
Mm.
love doing that. And every time I do, like, I'll have like a client like come in out of nowhere the next day. It's
Ah,
like wonderful. Yeah,
of course.
it's really
Yes,
nice.
I love it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for
Of
all the
course.
value that you shared with us. And here also for everyone, if you want to know more about the work that Amber does and how you can get more support from her when it comes to business coaching and launching your new offers, then I have here all the contact info from her, so you can reach out to her via email, contact
Yeah.
contact at amberalexis.com. Also via IT again, here is slash not the point. I'm gonna fix that, and you also get all this information in the email after this masterclass, as
Mhm.
well the link to book a call to get in touch with Amber.
Yes, feel free to send me a DM. Honestly, I love connecting with my community, so don't be shy, or an email if both of them work. All right, thank you
Amazing.
guys. So excited to hear
Thank
about
you
from
so
you,
much.
Sina.
Yes, then let's dive into psychology hacks. I am so passionate about this. So quickly first, just the basic, what is psychology? Psychology is the study of how the mind works and how it affects our behavior. And this is exactly how important it is for branding, because we can, with the branding, also affect the buying behavior of our dream clients, right? So you want to make sure to understand the psychology of your dream clients so that you can implement it into your brand and speak to them on a deeper level. So here it comes to the emotional language. Really important. Human beings on an unconscious level take decisions emotionally first and then clarify them with logic. So this is why it's so important. You see this often actually even on sales pages or on launches from maybe successful people. They don't just throw all the numbers and all the facts and what's included and the logic on you. They first always speak to the emotional part first. So they want to evoke your emotion by talking to your pain points, to your desires, what is keeping you awake at night, right? So to do this, you first want to get crystal clear what kind of emotions do you want to evoke in your clients with the service or product that you're going to provide with this launch. So stepping really into the shoes of your dream clients and thinking, how do they want to feel after they work with me, after they use my service? What is their really desire? Why would they pay for it? What is the way they want to feel? Because again, here really important, people don't buy just your service, the package, the plan, whatever you sell, they buy the way they feel after they could use it. So here are some ways how to evoke the emotions. Again, once you are really clear on the emotions that you want to evoke, here are some ways how to do this. I also quickly want to make an example. For example, let's take a holistic coach. So for example, your ideal client feels exhausted, she's without energy, she feels uncomfortable in her body. And so here stepping into what emotions do you want to evoke? How does she want to feel? Is she wants to feel energized, vital, excited, empowered, comfortable in her body? So really getting clear on these emotions first, and then with the content you want to activate them, right? So one of the main things, we want to focus on the solution and the results that we provide our clients. So really find a way to get them into the imagination and really stepping into how they're going to feel when they work with you. So they get excited about working with you, and you already activate the first emotions and connect. Another really good way to do this is with visuals. Back it up with pictures. It can be pictures of yourself if you're basically the way how they want to be. It can be from your ideal clients, social proof, people who are already have this transformation, or it can be even like just pictures from strangers, stock photos, just pictures that they align with how they want to feel. So going back to the sample, for example, from this holistic coach, from this client who want to feel energized, vital, happy in their body, take a picture of, for example, someone running in a beach and really feeling happy in their body. Then the third point is pain point. As well, it's not only the desires that we connect with their emotions, but also pain points. So again, what keeps them awake at night? What are they questioning themselves? For example, why didn't I went to the gym again for 3 days in a row? Why can I not just keep myself accountable to actually do this nutrition techniques, etc. So think really what is keeping them up, why can they not get to the point how they want to feel, and then answer exactly, like give them solution in your content so that you're actually speaking to them, and when they get to your online appearance and they see if it's a caption or if it's on your sales page or if it's just you talking to them, they feel like, wow, she's talking exactly to me, like that's exactly what I'm dealing with, right? So this is really powerful, but I still recommend you focus more on the desires, on positive emotions than on the negative ones. So I usually like to start when it comes to website copy or captions. Start with the pain points first, just to make sure to tell them you understand them, you relate to their struggles, but then really quickly change into the positive emotions. What if you could actually feel this way? Imagine that you could feel this and this way. Really like activate again this imagination of how they want to feel. Then the 4 points, what also Amber already mentioned, repetition is key. Really, there is not too much selling or too much talking about what you can provide about the solution that you give, because the people who need you, they need to hear this a lot of times. And here studies actually have proven that a person needs to see something 7 times to consciously take in the information. So this really keeps this in mind. The next time, if you feel like, oh, it's already the third time this week that I'm going in a story talking about this, like I'm have to be annoying, like no, they need to see it. And also there always need person to see it. There are people who just sometimes don't have to sound on or just pass through, and so you want to make sure they really get this information because they need it. And the fifth point, social proof, again, also what Amber says, so powerful, share success stories. And by showing them, hey, look, my client was feeling the way you feel, but she had this and this transformation, she can do it. They feel like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it too. So this gives them the feeling of possibility of, yes, I can actually get there. And then just as we can evoke emotions with our content, with the words, with our language, we can also do this with all the visual parts. So a really big part here are the colors. I love talking about colors because they're really so powerful. Every single color evokes a special emotion. Let's just take a quick sample here. If you go to a funeral, there is everyone is dark, start like the clothing, like usually also the decoration stuff is usually dark because that's the kind of emotion we have in this moment, right? The same, but if you go to a birthday party, you don't see like all the decoration in black or in dark colors. No, you want to have bright colors that actually like awaken these emotions of happiness, of excitement. A really simple sample, but here really colors are so powerful and they go really into detail. So each color has a special emotion they include. And here I see often that people just think when it comes to launching their offer or their brand identity for what they're giving, they're thinking, oh, I really love this color. This is my favorite color. Instead of really thinking first, okay, what's my mission and how do I speak to my dream clients? What kind of emotion do I want to include? Again, get clarity on that first. And then here's simple, like that's not a huge secret or something. Go on Google or on Pinterest, type in color psychology, and you see each color plus what kind of emotions they evoke. And then really take the time and realize, okay, which color actually fits the best to my mission, to what I want to speak to. So that's the colors. Then the fonts as well. Fonts also are really important when it comes to design, especially when it comes to sales pages. For example, so there are bold fonts or there's script, beautiful decorative fonts. So I really love script fonts so much. That's the font that you saw before that's more decorative and soft. But I always have to remind myself, and this is really important, you don't want to use this kind of fonts for important information or for titles that want to get attention, because everything that's important, so call to action, important title, what they get, it has to be super easy to read so they get it immediately, the information. So especially when it comes to launches, to sales pages, you want to use a lot of bold fonts, really strong ones that stand out, that are super easy to read, and use script fonts only for beautiful words or decorative. And again, consistency is the same just with the copy and your strategies, and the same happens with your visuals. So you want to be consistent with your brand identity. Use the same colors and fonts and the same style all over the platform. So if you're active on Facebook, on YouTube, on IT, on different platforms, make sure you have your own style so you get recognizable, because this is also where you build trust and people start to recognize. So when they all of a sudden see a post in their feed and they're just scrolling through, but they see this kind of branding that they're familiar with, they stop and they know, oh, that's content from her. I want to see what she's saying. So consistency key as well here. And the last simple but really important tip when it comes to design, less is more, especially again on the sales page. You don't want to overwhelm people, because if there's, for example, too much text or too much design and things going on, people can just click away because it's like, I don't even start to read it, just so much coming. You want to make it super entertaining and simple for them to read so they get started point by point, and then you basically create a journey for them to get to know you and your services and how you can help them. So this was already the design tip. And now I have a surprise for you. So I am launching 3 new WordPress sales page templates for coaches online so that you can have an easier launch, because I've realized a lot of my clients and also for myself, I realized a launch can be super overwhelming. There's so many things to do, and one really important part here is the sales page. You want to get them to buy your service in a simple and easy way, and that's why I created this for you, and I'm so passionate about launching this, because this makes it super easy for you. I'm teaching you really step by step how to just take this template, customize it to your own branding, to your own content, and then get it out in a professional and modern way so that people purchase your amazing offers. So I did 3 different templates. There is a holistic coach template, a boss-based coach template, and a spiritual coach template. So there is literally everything, something for everyone. And they also come with different bonuses. So again, it's not just that you get the template and then like, okay, what do I do with it? No, I'm going to guide you step by step super simple how you actually implement it, so you can get it up literally in a few days. Um, Also, you get amazing, beautiful, created Canva templates with each template. So you see each of them has a different style, and you also get the Canva templates with the same style with this, as well as a guide how to use the swipe up feature and special bonus trainings on social media, on copy, and yeah, a lot more. So if this is something interesting for you, if you are about to launch a new offer and you want to have this as easy as possible when it comes to your online appearance, which is really important for a successful launch, then I'm having a special offer for you. So one of these templates plus all the bonuses you currently, for a limited time, get for only $95, which is crazy. It's a steal, but I really just yeah, want to make the launch as easy as possible for you. And if you purchase it within the next 24 hours, you even get a 30-minute free brand strategy session with me included. So you first gain the clarity on exactly what we just talked about, what kind of emotions you want to evoke, and how you can really integrate this into your sales page, right? And another special bonus, if you don't have a brand identity design yet, then I'm happy to give you $150 off my package by using the code abundance. And also underneath you see the link where you can see more information, and you can actually check out the whole template to see if you like one of them and if this is going to be valuable. And this was already it. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Also, Amber, again, thank you so much for sharing all this valuable content. Yeah, I'm super, super happy.